Welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about collecting vintage in 2021. Today I'm going to give you some of my tips and tricks that I've picked up over the years. I'm going to share some of my experiences, kind of discuss why collecting has gotten to the position it's in now in 2021. 2020 was a big part of it. We'll talk about the changes coming up. In 2020, we saw the largest influx of toy collectors ever, and a big part of that is because a lot of people had extra time and extra money and decided to get into collecting this hobby and reliving some of those childhood memories. But it's a lot of fun collecting toys, no matter what. So getting into this, a huge influx of collectors chasing the same amount of product roughly equals a higher price on the product. So last year, we saw the highest prices ever. And I know this because just in 2019, some of the things I was chasing then now were double, triple, and in some cases quadruple the price. The good thing about the price going up is people will bring out rare stuff to sell. They see that toys are selling for a lot of money, so more stuff surfaced and showed up online for sale than ever, it seemed like, but it sold fast and there was a lot of competition. So where are we at today? So 2021 has sort of a unique set of problems, and we're just going to have to work through it. But one of the bigger problems with collecting in 2021 is the fact that we have a high price on items, and the rarer stuff is just getting more expensive. And with Silverhawks, they seem to keep getting more expensive, even though I don't really see that they're rare. They're not that rare, but they still are more and more expensive than ever. Flip side, toy lines like Chuck Norris and Karate Commandos are getting cheaper and cheaper than ever. So they were cheaper in 21 than they were in 2020. Even Star Wars stuff has the same type of conundrum. It seems like the rarest stuff is more expensive, the common stuff is cheaper, and so you have to kind of know that when you go into collecting. And so we're going to start with my tips and tricks. So my first tip is to do your research. And there's a lot of things that you're going to want to research when it comes to doing your research. Are you going to be a completist? Are you going to get every single figure? Are you just going to get the figures? Are you going to get the figures and the vehicles? Are you going to go for the rare items? What's your budget? What's your price? Are you going to do carded? Are you going to do loose? Are you going to do everything boxed? Does it all have to be sealed? These are a lot of questions that you want to answer before jumping in, deep diving in. And even if you're already in the middle of collecting, you kind of need to decide how far you're going to go. For myself personally, before I ever collected one Visionary figure, I decided to go after the Dagger Assault because I knew it was the most valuable, the most expensive, and if I could land that, then I'll finish the rest. If not, I would just work on a different toy line than the Visionaries. And luckily, I landed an almost complete Dagger Assault for what I felt was a good price for the time. Now, with that, it made finishing the collection that much easier. When you knock out the most expensive, valuable, and hardest one, it makes it so much easier. Still wasn't the easiest, and I really didn't want to go boxed and carded. I did get a couple carded ones along the way, but making those decisions, doing that research is going to help you in your collecting. Okay, so my next tip is to buy in bulk, and the thing is that that's kind of how I collect. This is my personal experience. I found that I've more or less been a quantity over quality collector, but you still have to kind of consider when you buy in bulk, you're going to get a better price. Now, a lot of people will buy a separate complete one. They'll only buy it if it's complete, only buy separate complete. Nobody wants duplicates is kind of a mentality. I like duplicates. I don't mind duplicates, triplicates, quadruplicates. So I buy in bulk. And here's the other aspect of it. If you do buy in bulk, you can sell off your excess when you're done and get a little bit of your money back and recoup some of your money doing the same thing. Another aspect of buying in bulk, I would say buy from the same seller. So if you have an item that you maybe won on eBay, or if you found something, hey, do you have any more of this? I'm looking for all of this. Do you have any of it? It saves on shipping, it saves on time, and it helps out. And a lot of times, it's going to help both parties because the seller wants to just unload it and get rid of it, and you're looking for it actively. Now, sometimes the only way to buy stuff is to get it complete and have to pay out the nose. If you do buy it complete separately, you are going to be paying way more than you will if you're buying them in bulk. And also another strategy that I've used with this sort of buying in bulk is buying 2 loose separate figures, each missing different parts, cheaper than 1 complete. I've done it a lot of times. I had to do it with Spiral Zone and it worked out. And I do it with other toy lines too. But if you really step back and you look at it, if you can get 2 figures for 30 each instead of 1 complete one for 80 to 100, it makes more sense. My next tip is try to buy collections from original owners. So people who had them from their childhood or all their lives, those are the best, sweetest kind of deals. And there's 2 reasons why. First of all, you usually get a little bit better deal because they don't have a price recency bias, where recency, they haven't had to acquire the stuff in 2020 at the top of the market. They've had it all this time. So that's one thing. And also, you may be paying less than the top market price. You're still going to be paying more than they paid back in the day. The expectation that they're going to give it to you for what their parents paid back in the day is not true. It's not going to happen. But it's going to be a better worked out deal between you. And most people that still have their stuff from their childhood, oddly enough, it's in good shape and mostly complete, and they've cherished this stuff. That's why they still have it. Most people that didn't care about it, it went in a garage sale in the 80s or early 90s. My next tip is to make connections in the market, in the toy world, whether it be fellow collectors, whether it's dealers, whether it's toy shops or whatever. But I find having some connections and friendships or relationships with other collectors around the world is very helpful and beneficial. Not only can you help them out with maybe US exclusives and those kinds of things, but they can help you out with the international shipping and stuff like that. There are a lot of things that I got from collectors overseas that I still would never find in the States. And some of the people overseas don't want to ship to the US, and some people in the US don't want to ship overseas. A lot of the fear of the unknown, oddly enough, if they go through eBay, it's all covered. But making those connections is very important when it comes to collecting, and especially if you're collecting in 2021, they might help you find the rarest stuff, and they might know somebody that has one. They might be able to influence to them to sell to you, and also they may be more willing to give up an extra or a spare to a friend versus some random person online. And going along with these making connections, I really try to avoid using eBay and PayPal when I'm dealing one-on-one with somebody that I know. I mean, obviously, internationally, you're going to have to do the PayPal kind of thing. But if you live local within driving distance, meet up, do a cash deal, save the PayPal fees, save all of those kinds of fees, and meet each other in person. And I like meeting people, like handshakes and having discussions and talking about stuff. So it's a lot of fun to meet people out there. And I know we've gotten to a digital world where we end up just doing everything digitally, but face-to-face is a lot more fun, and you save all those eBay and PayPal fees. So next up, there's the trades. Kind of goes hand in hand with connecting with people. It goes hand in hand with meeting up with people and friends in the community. And then there's trades. Now, again, I'm not big on online trades. I suggest doing it in person, so everybody is happy and there's no problems with it. I've done some through the mail trades. Every single one is a giant question mark. Even if people have references, even if they're reputable in the community, there's always a question mark. Things can always happen with trades. I am not a big fan of it unless you're trading in person, which is very hard to do this day and age. Next thing I want to say is to be patient. When you start collecting a toy line, or if you're even in the middle of it and you're like, hey, I just want to get this knocked out, it's easy to get overly excited about it and start buying up whatever's on the market at the time and overpay or buy lower quality product than you want, especially when you start getting into the rare items. So like when I collected Rambo, I ended up picking up some Rambo stuff that was probably lesser quality, and I know I paid too much, but I got it, and I'm happy I've got it. But more items showed up down the road, and they were actually cheaper and in better shape than the stuff that I already had, and I already way overpaid for. You're gonna overpay. Don't dwell on it. Just move on, and hopefully you learn from those overpaid mistakes like I did. Lastly, I do want to talk about the repro, and I did make a whole video talking about reproduction parts. If you are collecting and you find that these weapons are really hard to get, they're expensive and all that, going the repro route, even if you're going the repro route for maybe a filler, it's just going to be for the time being. Maybe you're not going to have repro forever. You're going to go for official stuff down the road. Repro parts make your figures look better on the shelf. A lot of times maybe you get those and you're like, well, I'm just not going to bother going after the original weapons for $50 a piece when I've got $50 got me all of the weapons I need to finish my whole shelf. So that's another thing to think about when you're collecting. Are you going to use repro? Are you going to go for repro? Because if you're collecting for yourself, does it really matter? So I hope these tips and tricks in 2021 help people out. I hope it clarifies kind of what I've seen over the past year and a half going on in the collecting community and vintage. Let me know in the comments below, like and subscribe, and Titanium Hanger out.